In the quiet town of Circleville, Ohio, nestled along the rolling hills and suburban streets, life in the 1970s seemed unremarkable. Families lived simple lives, neighbors knew each other, and crime was minimal. But for nearly 2 decades, Circleville became the epicenter of a psychological nightmare, a campaign of anonymous poison pen letters that terrorized residents, exposed intimate secrets, and left a trail of paranoia and fear that would shake the community to its core. Unlike ordinary criminal acts, the Circleville letters were personal. They were handwritten or typed notes sent through the mail that revealed knowledge of residents' private lives, extramarital affairs, and other secrets that should have remained hidden. The letters were not just warnings. They were threats, often signed in a menacing, cryptic way, and they escalated over time, resulting in harassment, intimidation, and even death. The town was gripped with fear. Who was sending these letters? How did they know such private details? And why did the letters seem to target specific individuals in increasingly threatening ways? This was not a single crime. It was a decades-long campaign of terror that blurred the line between small-town gossip and true criminal malice. The first letters began circulating in the late 1970s, targeting Mary Gillespie, a local schoolteacher. The letters accused her of having an affair with a local bus driver, Ronald Story, and demanded she stop the relationship, even threatening her with exposure and harm if she did not comply. The letters were signed simply as the Circleville Writer, leaving the community confused, alarmed, and increasingly suspicious of one another. Mary's husband, Paul Gillespie, became embroiled in the mystery. He received similar letters and grew increasingly frustrated and fearful. He attempted to confront the sender and even installed surveillance around their home, but the letters continued, taunting them, revealing intimate details and escalating in intensity. The town's residents began speculating wildly. Was it a jilted ex-lover, a neighbor with a grudge, or someone with inside knowledge of the community's most private affairs? The fact that the letters persisted for years, with such precise knowledge of personal lives, made the situation terrifying and surreal. Circleville had never experienced a case like this, a slow burn campaign of intimidation that felt almost supernatural in its omnipresence. As the years went on, the letters became more than just threats. They became physically dangerous. Booby traps were reported, vandalism occurred, and the letters' tone grew increasingly hostile. In 1983, a key turning point occurred when a man named Paul Freshour, a local suspect tied to one of the letter victims, was killed in a suspicious car accident. Many in the town speculated a connection to the Circleville letters, though no official link could be definitively established. Law enforcement struggled to catch the anonymous writer. Despite multiple suspects, confessions, and trials, the case remained largely unsolved. The letters continued into the 1990s, targeting a new generation of residents and leaving behind an enduring legacy of fear and suspicion. Investigators were challenged not only by the anonymity of the letters, but by the small-town environment itself, where everyone knew each other. The Circleville letters exploited intimate knowledge of relationships, rivalries, and secrets, making it difficult to separate genuine threats from gossip. Every letter caused paranoia, mistrust, and fear, sometimes tearing families and marriages apart. Over time, law enforcement identified a key suspect, Paul Freshour, a man allegedly obsessed with Mary Gillespie and deeply entangled in the town's web of secrets. He was convicted of attempted murder, allegedly in connection with one of the letter-related incidents, and many believed he could have been the Circleville Writer. However, doubts remained. Even after convictions, new letters were reported, suggesting either a copycat or that the true author had never been caught. the letters continued to baffle investigators, who had little forensic technology to trace anonymous mail in that era. Experts in criminal psychology noted that the letters reflected obsessive, controlling behavior, targeting individuals' insecurities, exploiting their fears, and escalating threats in a deliberate pattern, a hallmark of long-term psychological harassment. The Circleville letters have become one of America's most infamous cases of poison pen harassment. The case illustrates how fear can be weaponized in a small community, showing the devastating impact of anonymous threats over decades. Unlike most crimes, there is no single moment of violence. The terror is psychological, sustained, and corrosive. The story has inspired books, documentaries, and podcasts, examining not just the letters themselves, but the societal impact, the way fear can divide communities, how suspicion can destroy trust, and how anonymity can embolden cruelty. In Circleville, even decades later, the letters remain part of local lore, a reminder that some crimes are as much about control and intimidation as they are about physical harm. The Circleville letters case is a chilling reminder of the power of fear and secrecy. For nearly 20 years, an anonymous individual manipulated the lives of ordinary people, exposing intimate secrets, sowing mistrust, and driving paranoia into every corner of a quiet Ohio town. The letters were more than notes. They were weapons of psychological warfare, meticulously planned and devastating in their effects. Even now, the questions linger. Who truly authored the Circleville letters? Did justice ever reach the real perpetrator? Or did the anonymous writer vanish, leaving behind decades of terror and unanswered questions? The case is a haunting example of how anonymity, knowledge of personal lives, and obsessive control can turn everyday life into a nightmare. The Circleville letters remind us that not all crimes are visible, and not all dangers are immediate. Some terror arrives slowly through the written word, eroding trust and preying on fear. If you want to uncover more stories of unsolved mysteries, psychological terror, and crimes that defy logic, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and join us as we explore the dark and unexplainable corners of human behavior. Some threats are obvious. Others arrive silently, letter by letter, leaving only questions and unease.